Hi guys, today I'll be discussing about web service automation. So today we will start with a basic Cucumber framework and Java. We already have a very basic setup already up and running. So this tutorial consists of understanding of the basic framework, and then I will explain you how to start creating a new API automation, request and responses, and then I will also explain you about implementation of some of the step definitions. So today in our tutorial, I will open a small notes for today. So let me open a WordPad. So today we will be discussing about service automation. I will just make sure that I got enough fonts in that. So I got a bit. So what we will be testing today is we'll be testing some post requests which are in JSON format and which have a response. Um, and we also will test some GET requests. But let us start with post request, and then I will explain everything using an example. So what tools that we will be looking is we'll be looking at Postman, as you already many of you know. I'll be looking in automation side. I'll be looking with Cucumber, and I have REST assured library, and I will use JUnit for my assertion purpose. And yeah, Java is something, and I will be using IntelliJ for my purpose. Community edition. Okay, so I think many of you know the basics of web services. We have post and get requests, and we get a response. And here we are not using any XML. We are using JSON request and response format. We are using Postman for our tool purpose, to make sure that to run some of the manual tests. And for automation, we are using Cucumber and Java, Cucumber JVM. Right. So the project. So I don't want to take much of your time on explaining the theory part. Let us jump into project. So today I've taken a project which is City Movies, which is like a book my show, or Cine World, whatever it is. So ideally, this is a booking API, um, and it also have movie APIs, details of movie APIs, and all this stuff. So it's a movie ticketing API. However, this is in a testing phase, so we have enough documentation available around the APIs. So I think that should be enough for us to understand and create some basic tests. However, the logic is very straightforward. When we go through the project, you will be understanding that. So the supporting document for that for this session is I got some API document here. So this document represents different screens in the app, and also it represents different APIs that the app will be talking about. So today we will start with a registration API. where user registers with his email and password, and the server should respond with 200. This is a very basic test, and we will go through more complex tests in the next session. So right now, so I'll just execute this API from Postman. So you can see that I open Postman, and you can see that this is the post request, and this is the body. There's no much headers for this. So we got only one header, which is content is equal to application.json /json. So I got a registration API where there are different types of users. So we will be using user type 3, that is completely domain specific, and I will be giving an email and password, and if they both are valid, then I will get a message saying that registration is registered successfully, and you get a status code of 200. This is a the actual status code is 200, and we are getting our own user defined status code 200, and is error and is success as couple of flags which is used for the mobile applications. So if I test that manually, it takes a very limited time, and you can see that if email is already registered, then it will give a message that email is registered. So let us put a unique email ID and just see what happens. So if I put a unique email ID, and then yes, you can see that there is a success response. So around this API, there are a lot of other combinations where I need to test with duplicate emails, invalid passwords, and test some error codes also. But let us start with the happy path, where we given valid values and we get a success response. So to automate this, I will start with my framework. So my framework is not very big; it's very small. I don't have much for more files. But what I did is I got a run file to run the tests, and I got some step definitions which are already defined. However, in this case, I will be defining the step definitions from scratch, so that you will understand how to test from scratch. Maybe I will be using some of the existing steps, but if I use an existing step, I will definitely explain how that works. So I will be going in detail about how the implementation works. Apart from that, I have some kind of predefined objects which I created, but in this case I will be creating from scratch, so you don't need to worry. And I have some kind of static files where I put a kind of information about my apps and APIs, but I will be still explain I will still explain that. So that also we will create from scratch. However, the only thing that I'll be reusing is that I created a small wrapper function to hold the responses. So that is nothing but just handling the headers and handling the responses. So it is not that we have to use this, but I just created to make my life easy. So this is a kind of wrapper around the headers and the responses of an object. I will be explaining more in detail when we go for implementation. So today I have this feature file called City Movies. So this is our application. So now I started with a feature. So what we will be testing is we'll be testing the APIs for City Movies. Okay. So let us start with the basic scenario. So the first scenario is happy. The first is register new user, and we are testing happy path. This is the very basic thing. So okay, so I got some reusable steps which we can use here. So given so there are some predefined steps that you can see, but what I'm looking for is there any API is there anything which is specific to city movies? So there's nothing to specific to city movies, so it's good that we will start from scratch. So given um, uh, so the given condition is very basic, that what we will be doing is we will just we will start from scratch. So what we will do is we keep we say that we had a valid given um, so what ideally I want to say here is we just want to make sure that the basic domain is working. So if I enter a domain, put a get value, so I should get a 200 responses. So if the domain is not valid, for an example, if I give an invalid domain, then I will get a no invalid response. So first of all, I will just make sure that the domain is always working. So what I will do is I create just create a test for that. Given the APIs are up and running, which is a basic step for all the just for the domain is working. And then I'll create an step called when I hit or when a user registers, okay, with so now it is more of my own specific. So with the user type, so what I'll say is my user type is so I can create what are the three inputs that I need. So when the user posts a request to I will put a subdomain here. So because ideally I want to hit this, so what I will do is I'll put this. I'll say that when user does this, uh, and so it will not hit it straight away, but um, I have some uh, reusable stuff here, so I will take that. So I registered with following details, so something like this. So with the following, so I'm trying to make a very generic so that it will be useful later. So what I will do is I will create a data table here just like this. I'll create a data table here. So my data table here says that, so I just need to put the actual values directly. Okay, so I'm just trying to make life easy, that instead of typing all the notations, I'm just directly giving here, saying that my email is this. You can parameterize this later. Okay, so we'll just put this. So I'm directly creating a kind of an object here, uh, which which will which will do that. Okay, so I got some responses. So I got a step. Let us not make it complicated. Let me just write a step so that I get 200. After that, I will validate the response message. So yeah, so we need to implement these three steps now. So given the APIs are up and running, and the user posts a request to register, and following, so it is nothing but with, so it's ideally with and following border parameters, then the response code should be 200. Okay, so let us do this. So I'll create a step definition. So what I can do here is I can try to create I will directly give the URL here. Maybe that will be more helpful. for this API. This is my API, so the APIs are running and this. Okay, so I don't need to go to global variables or something like that right now. I can do that later, but I will create more generic stuff here. So I'll create a step definition here. So I'll create a new step definition file called city movies. So that will be this. So I will try to just use some of the stuff that I have used there. So in this, these are couple of this is some of the values that I need to use here. So because I'm creating from scratch, I need some variables. So the variables are nothing but we need to make the URL. These are all the reusable URL. You will come to know. However, what I want here is so there unnecessary with some response holder. So I need a response holder, and I need a response. So okay, I need this. We will come to know all these things later. So let us do this first. Let us to put this dot URL is equal to URL. Okay, so that you can use that anywhere. Okay, so that's the thing. So now what we have to do is we need to hit this API and just get that whether we are getting 200 response or not. So for this so a typical request responses will be like this in REST assured. So we are talking about REST assured here. Okay, so we need to do a get request. We need to do a simple get request. Okay, so that it will simply work for us. So what I will do here is so these are the two steps which I need for now, and then I can see the response. So if you see carefully, I know I'm running through, but so so if you see this, sorry, spelling mistake. Okay, if you see this, so this is my response. Okay, so ideally, so we don't have any query parameters right now. What we're doing is we're just hitting a URL, and we are setting the URL to response. So the response holder is nothing but an object which is holding the response. However, we can do this. So what we want to do is we want to just we need to make sure that the response code is 200. Response dot get status code. So we got something like this, which is nothing but ideally it should be 200. So that is our expected. What is the actual value? So this is the expected value. Okay, so let us put it the other way around. So this is the expected value and that is the actual value. So we're getting 200, so that's it. So I don't think so we need to put it in a holder. So this is nothing but this is pure REST assured library. These are all the static methods. So you can see this here. So when I use this then I just want to hit the URL and get the response and just make sure that the response code is 200, so that we know that the domain, the main base URL is working fine. Okay, so let us go and execute this. I know it won't be very happy right now. It only executes one, but at least that is a good way to start for us. So I'm putting a tag called CM. So we need tags for now because we may need to run the tests across multiple features. So always I prefer to have a run file so that we can do a lot of good things. Cool. So just run executed it and hopefully all the dependencies are good. So I should get a success message. Okay. There was a failure, build failure. Let me see what's happening. uh, okay, let me run this again. Okay, it looks like there's a problem. Let me fix this. Let me run like a JUnit test instead of Maven. But both should be fine. But at this point, let's go with JUnit. So yeah, so scenario was taken. Okay, so you can see that the first step is so this is ignored. Okay, so you can see that they're all warnings, uh, but we got a kind of warnings only, but the first step is passed. You can see that the 200 response code is 200, so it was working fine. So the basic first step is working fine. Okay, because we are not getting any error messages here. So if you want to test that whether if it is really working, so okay, so let me make this as 300 just to make sure that the test is really testing. Okay, yeah, so you can see that the test is failed. Okay, so that means that we're getting 200, so good that our test is working. So yes, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to build the URL. So we need to just append the uh, subdirectory for this. So it is like a API URL. So API URL now will be our URL or this dot URL is equal to this dot URL plus API URL. That's it. So now we build our URL. So this is a bit crucial part. So we need to create an object as our body parameters into the post request, and then we'll get the response. So we're using data table here, which is very reusable. So for this, I think we need to little bit copy the code from somewhere else. So I made some generic code here where we need to build a HTML. Sorry, we need to build a collection object map here, which creates an object and then sends that object into the body parameters. Okay, we don't have any query parameter here, we just need a body parameter. Okay, if you want query parameter also, we need to do a double work for that, but for now, as you see, there is no query parameter here. So I will simply create a hash map of this stuff. So what I will do is just see this code, just copying the code and putting in my okay. So this is nothing but a response, that object that we created. So okay, so let us just see this. So ideally we want to create a object called body. Okay, so the body is nothing but I'm just converting that into rows, and I'm create and putting them into hash map. Okay, so I don't think that this is required here. So I will just remove this. If got any condition and stuff we can put, but here for this requirement we don't need any condition. So an example, if you want to token created, the token is coming from somewhere else, then we need to put some conditions. Okay, so but however here where it is one to one, so we need to read the data from the data table, which is from the stub definition file. So you take this, so we're taking these three and creating an object of out of them. Okay, right, so we don't need to, so this is the body, so we created a body object. So I think it is we don't need to print anything right now. So what I will do is, instead of query parameter, so it's a body parameter. Okay, so body, and in body I want to give the actual body. Okay, body object. Okay, and this is not get, this is post. Okay, and then this is the URL. Okay, so let us see. So this is very powerful. They are powerful methods from rest assured. So what I'm simply doing is I'm converting my um, data of the hash map data table into a hash table, and good that this rest assured will take the data from the data table, and in a hash table, and creates an object and then posts and get the response back. Okay, so so if you want to read the response, so what we can do is, just for now to make sure that things are working fine, so I'm just outputting some, it's not required, but just to make sure that things are working fine, print ln. So what we can do is, we can do this stuff straight away, where we can put a response code first. It should be 200 ideally, and then I can print the response dot okay, let's do this. So actually response holder is also very just nothing but we can straight away print this. So this is the advantage of response holder, where it wraps up a lot of the methods. So I can just get the response body and it will be printed. Okay, so yeah, so let us go and run this and see what happens. I'll do this JUnit. You can see that it is very it's very convenient way of using this showed with city with Cucumber. It's very, this is very strong way of doing the things. So yes, we got some problem. So the problem, it was an unknown error. So the problem is here. So when I'm giving a body, okay, so I'm not able to put, so the body, created a body parameter, and this is, oh no, I think maybe I need to, okay, okay, should not be a problem normally. So body is a body where I'm putting the code. Okay, okay, so I mean these things do happen. Okay, so we still got a problem. So I'm a bit keen for seeing what is happening at this point. So you can see that we can, So maybe I think we need to put a header for content type. So so we got a lot of content here. Okay, so we can